Hello, friends. Are you ready to explore the fascinating world of Isang Bala Ka Lang? Part 2? Released on December 25, 1996. This film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're bringing you all the hidden gems, stunning details, and unforgettable moments. If you enjoy this deep dive, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps our channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more exciting movie explorations. Let's jump right in and uncover the magic together. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, is a Filipino action film that takes the audience on a thrilling ride of justice, revenge, and redemption. Released on December 25, 1996, as part of the annual Metro Manila Film Festival, the film quickly captured the attention of Filipino audiences and cemented its place in the country's action movie pantheon. Directed by Eric Mati, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to its 1994 predecessor, Isang Bala Ka Lang, and continues the story of its indomitable lead character, portrayed by action star Bong Ravilla, who is willing to take extreme measures to uphold justice. What sets Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 apart from other action films of the time is its perfect blend of high-octane action, social commentary, and emotional depth. While it's undeniably an action-packed spectacle with explosive fight sequences, car chases, and intense shootouts, the film also serves as a sharp critique of corruption, the decay of institutions, and the lengths to which one man will go to right the wrongs in a broken system. It's a film that resonates with universal themes of moral struggle and personal sacrifice, yet it remains accessible through its accessible action thriller lens. The result is a film that speaks to the heart of the Filipino people while entertaining them with its riveting moments of suspense. As we venture deeper into the world of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, there are many hidden gems and cinematic moments that deserve attention. From its well-crafted, intricate plot to the stellar performances, the movie is filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered. Fans of Filipino cinema and action films, in particular, will appreciate how the movie revitalizes the genre with its modern sensibilities while respecting the classic tropes that have made Filipino action films iconic. The plot: a world of corruption and vengeance. The film opens with a stunning introduction to the world our hero inhabits. Gritty, unforgiving, and teeming with corruption at every level. Bong Ravilla's character is once again thrust into a world of violence and deceit, a place where those in power often abuse their positions, and the helpless are left to fend for themselves. From the very first moments, we're shown just how high the stakes are for our protagonist. With a reputation for being unyielding in his pursuit of justice, he is drawn into a new mission that hits close to home. In Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, the story revolves around a web of intrigue, as our hero faces off against a powerful syndicate operating in the shadows, feeding off the corruption that has infiltrated the political and law enforcement systems. But it's not just about taking down bad guys, it's personal. The film explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the moral cost of seeking vengeance. The protagonist, once a solitary figure driven by anger, is now forced to confront the consequences of his actions and the people around him who may or may not share his vision of justice. As the plot unfolds, the viewer is taken on a roller coaster of emotions. The tension between characters, particularly between the protagonist and the corrupt officials who control the city, is palpable. Every scene builds toward the ultimate confrontation, with unexpected twists, heartbreaking betrayals, and intense action sequences that keep the audience on the edge of their seats. One of the film's most remarkable elements is its pacing. The slow burn of the story, interspersed with bursts of explosive action, creates a rhythm that continuously keeps you guessing. Just when you think you have the plot figured out, the film pulls the rug out from under you, throwing in a twist that makes you question the motives of every character on screen. By the time the movie reaches its conclusion, it's clear that nothing is ever as simple as it first appears. The performances: a star-studded cast. At the heart of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is its lead actor, Bong Ravilla. His portrayal of a man who fights not only for justice but for his own moral redemption is powerful and moving. Revilla, who is known for his strong presence in action films, delivers a nuanced performance that goes beyond the physicality typically associated with the genre. His character is not simply a one-dimensional action hero. He is someone who struggles with the weight of his decisions, the consequences of his actions, and the toll that seeking vengeance takes on his soul. The supporting cast also shines. Each actor brings a unique element to the film, whether it's the corrupt politicians who serve as the antagonists or the loyal friends who help the protagonist along the way. The chemistry between the characters is key to the film's success, with every interaction feeling authentic and grounded in the emotional stakes of the story. One of the standout performances comes from the villain of the piece, a character whose charm and ruthlessness make them a truly formidable foe. The actor behind the role crafts a character that is not just evil for the sake of being evil but someone who believes they are justified in their actions. This moral grayness adds depth to the film, making the conflict feel more complex than a simple battle between good and evil. The supporting cast also plays a pivotal role in highlighting the emotional beats of the story. Characters who show loyalty, kindness, and love serve as a stark contrast to the corruption surrounding them, giving the protagonist something to fight for beyond his own desires for justice. These relationships, particularly with the family members who are central to the protagonist's personal journey, are not just a backdrop to the action. They are integral to the narrative and provide emotional stakes that elevate the film. The action, explosive sequences, and heart-stopping suspense. When it comes to action, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 does not disappoint. From the opening sequence, which showcases the hero's unflinching ability to survive even the most intense situations, to the climactic battles that take place in the heart of the city, the film is packed with breathtaking stunts, shootouts, and high-speed chases. The action scenes are carefully choreographed, each one serving the story while offering a thrilling spectacle for the audience. The film also uses its action sequences to heighten the emotional stakes. It's not just about flashy fight scenes. Each punch, every gunshot, and every chase is a reflection of the protagonist's internal struggle. There's a desperation in his movements, a sense that he's fighting not just to defeat his enemies but to hold onto the last remnants of his humanity. What makes these sequences stand out is how they are shot and staged. The gritty realism of the environment contrasts sharply with the heightened nature of the action, making the violence feel raw and immediate. The cinematography expertly captures the chaos of the scenes, with close-up shots that put the audience in the thick of the action. Whether it's a high-speed car chase or a tense standoff in an alleyway, each moment is crafted to keep viewers on the edge of their seats. One of the most iconic moments in the film comes when the protagonist faces off against the film's primary antagonist in a battle of wits and physical endurance. It's a showdown that is equal parts thrilling and heartbreaking, as both characters are pushed to their limits in a fight that will determine not only their fates but the fate of those they care about. Visuals and cinematography, a gritty and realistic world. The visuals in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 are integral to the film's success. The cinematography, directed by the talented Jun Lana, captures the dark, gritty underworld in which the characters live, with its rain-soaked streets and shadowy alleyways creating an atmosphere of tension and danger. The visual style complements the themes of the film, reinforcing the feeling that no one is ever truly safe and that danger lurks around every corner. The filmmakers use lighting and shadow to great effect, creating a world where the line between good and evil is often blurred. The contrast between light and dark reflects the moral ambiguity of the protagonist's journey and the choices he faces. This visual storytelling adds another layer of depth to the narrative, making the film more than just an action thriller. It becomes a work of art that speaks to the complexities of human nature. The legacy of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2. What makes Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 truly remarkable is its lasting impact on Filipino cinema. In an era dominated by blockbuster international action films, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 proved that Filipino films could stand toe-to-toe with the best of them. It was a film that not only entertained but also left an indelible mark on the cultural landscape, inspiring future generations of filmmakers and actors to explore themes of justice, morality, and societal issues through the lens of action cinema. For audiences, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 became a beloved classic, a movie that combined thrilling action with deep emotional resonance and sharp social commentary. The film resonated with Filipino viewers because it addressed issues that were close to home: corruption, poverty, and the search for justice. And it did so in a way that was accessible, exciting, and unforgettable. In the end, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is more than just an action movie. It's a cinematic experience that balances suspense, emotion, and social critique in a way that few films of its time achieved. It is a film that continues to be remembered for its powerful performances, gripping action, and the way it tackled important issues head-on. Whether you're a fan of Filipino cinema or simply someone looking for a movie that will keep you hooked from start to finish, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is a film that demands to be seen, understood, and appreciated. In the heart of the bustling streets of Manila, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, opens with a striking sequence that immediately sets the tone for the rest of the film. The camera glides over rain-slicked streets, filled with neon lights and shadows, as if foreshadowing the moral ambiguity that will play a significant role throughout the story. The world our characters inhabit is dark, unyielding, and fraught with danger, and from the very first scene, we're thrown into a gritty urban jungle where survival is anything but guaranteed. Bong Ravilla's character, Juan, the same rugged, justice-driven protagonist from the first film, takes center stage once again. He is a man who has already seen the worst that life has to offer and emerged victorious through sheer determination and willpower. However, we quickly realize that while Juan may have defeated many enemies in the past, the battle that lies ahead is far more complicated, and the forces at play are even more sinister than he could have imagined. As the first half of the movie unfolds, we're introduced to a new set of challenges for Juan, each one more personal and intense than the last. The action-packed opening sequence, set in a seedy nightclub, establishes the stakes early on. Juan, accompanied by his trusted allies, finds himself embroiled in a high-speed chase, dodging bullets and fighting his way out of an ambush. The film's rapid pacing, cutting between adrenaline-pumping action and moments of heightened suspense, immerses the audience in a world where every decision could lead to death. However, beyond the action, it is the quiet moments of reflection that provide the emotional backbone of the film. Juan's motivations are not purely driven by revenge or justice for the sake of it. There is a deeper, more personal reason behind his relentless pursuit of those who threaten his city. These moments of introspection slowly reveal the cracks in his character. Though he may appear invincible, Juan is also vulnerable, burdened by the toll that his crusade for justice has taken on his family, his sense of morality, and his mental well-being. The conflict unfolds, the return of old enemies and new alliances. One of the film's key elements is the sense of familiarity. Juan's world may have evolved, but the same corrupt forces still linger in the shadows, manipulating everything for their own gain. His return to the streets is both a confrontation with his past and a battle to change the future. This is made evident when a former ally, General Ramirez, resurfaces as a pivotal figure. Initially, the general seems like an old friend, someone who shares Juan's values of law and order. However, as the layers of the film unfold, we begin to see that Ramirez's true loyalties lie elsewhere. The tension between Juan and Ramirez sets the stage for a conflict that will define much of the first half. It's a relationship steeped in history, where trust has been tested, and past decisions have cast long shadows. The general's new alliances, which are tied to a web of corruption within the political and criminal circles, are gradually revealed, and we see how his motivations no longer align with Juan's. The introduction of Ramirez as a key antagonist foreshadows one of the film's major twists: the idea that those closest to us may be the ones who betray us. As the story progresses, Juan encounters other characters who serve to complicate his mission. Diana, a strong-willed reporter, plays an instrumental role in uncovering the truth behind the corrupt syndicates operating in the city. She brings with her a fresh perspective, offering Juan a chance to see the world through a different lens. Her motivations are not purely altruistic. She's driven by a need for truth and a desire to expose the criminals who hold the city in their grip. Diana's presence in the film brings a sense of balance to the otherwise intense action sequences. Her determination to uncover the truth serves as both a reminder of the moral high ground and a source of internal conflict for Juan. He, too, is driven by a desire for justice, but as the stakes become higher, he is increasingly torn between doing what is right and taking the law into his own hands. Diana and Juan's growing relationship is one of mutual respect and understanding, yet it is also one filled with tension. Their differing approaches to justice create an interesting dynamic. Juan's willingness to fight fire with fire contrasts with Diana's belief in exposing the truth through the press. Their interactions serve to highlight Juan's struggle with his own sense of morality, as well as the larger themes of justice and the blurred lines between right and wrong. As the stakes rise and their investigation takes them deeper into the criminal underworld, their alliance becomes one of necessity. Together, they begin to unravel the mysterious forces behind the chaos in the city, leading to shocking revelations that challenge everything they thought they knew. A web of corruption, the syndicate and its grip on power. It's not long before Juan and Diana's investigation leads them directly into the heart of the city's most powerful syndicate, an organization run by a mysterious crime lord known only as Old Eric. The syndicate has been operating under the radar, with connections in both law enforcement and politics. The organization is revealed to be not just a criminal network but a well-oiled machine that has infiltrated every facet of society, making it nearly impossible to dismantle. The film does an excellent job of building suspense around the syndicate. The audience is given glimpses of its influence and power through subtle clues and encounters that keep us guessing about how deep the corruption runs. What makes this part of the story so engaging is the slow reveal of Old Eric's operations, his empire built on fear, manipulation, and violence. There's a palpable sense of danger surrounding every interaction with his organization, whether it's a chance meeting in a dark alley or a more deliberate confrontation in the heart of the city. The idea that the city's fate rests in the hands of this unseen force becomes central to the conflict. In one particular scene, Juan and Diana follow a lead that takes them to a remote warehouse, where they discover evidence of the syndicate's reach, bribed officials, illegal arms deals, and a network of informants placed throughout the city. It's a chilling moment that reveals the depth of the problem Juan is up against. It's not just a gang or a group of petty criminals. It's an entire system that has corrupted the very fabric of society. The tension continues to build as Juan faces off against low-level members of the syndicate in a series of tense encounters. Each fight, each chase, feels like it could be the one that brings the entire empire crashing down. But as the first half of the movie progresses, it becomes clear that this is only the beginning. The obstacles in Juan's path are not just physical. There are emotional and psychological barriers that he must overcome as well. Every victory feels bittersweet, as it becomes increasingly clear that Juan is up against something much larger than he anticipated. The twist, loyalty and betrayal. One of the film's most striking moments occurs in the middle of the first half, when a seemingly insignificant character, a trusted informant, betrays Juan in a shocking twist. After providing critical information about the syndicate's operations, the informant turns on Juan, revealing his true allegiance to the criminal organization. This moment of betrayal catches the audience off guard, as the informant had previously been portrayed as a loyal ally. It's a pivotal scene that shifts the entire dynamic of the story, signaling that no one can be trusted, not even those closest to Juan. The betrayal is felt deeply by Juan, as it forces him to confront the painful reality that the battle he is fighting is not just a physical one. It's also a battle of trust, loyalty, and deception. This moment also marks a turning point in his character arc. Until this point, Juan has been largely motivated by vengeance, seeking to right the wrongs that have been done to him and his loved ones. But the betrayal forces him to reassess his approach, questioning whether violence and vengeance are the only ways to achieve justice. It's a significant shift that will have profound implications for his decisions in the second half of the film, foreshadowing the final confrontation. As the first half of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 progresses, the tension steadily escalates. The pacing of the film is perfectly balanced, with action sequences seamlessly interwoven with character development and plot twists. Every decision Juan makes feels consequential, and every move he takes brings him closer to uncovering the truth behind the syndicate's control over the city. The emotional and psychological stakes are just as high as the physical ones. Juan is constantly forced to confront his own motivations, the sacrifices he's made, and the toll his actions have taken on those around him. As the film heads toward its midpoint, we can feel the impending sense of doom. The walls are closing in, and it becomes clear that the ultimate showdown, between Juan and the criminal empire, is drawing near. What makes the first half so gripping is not just the series of intense action sequences, but the way it gradually builds up the tension through its characters. Each new revelation, every betrayal, and every twist adds layers of complexity to the story, keeping the audience guessing about what will happen next. By the time the first half ends, we are left with an overwhelming sense of anticipation, knowing that the biggest battles, both physical and emotional, are yet to come. As we move into the second half of the film, the stakes are higher, the danger more immediate, and the choices Juan makes even more critical. The question remains, will he be able to dismantle the syndicate and restore justice, or will the forces of corruption be too powerful for him to overcome? The answer lies in the next chapter of this intense, action-packed thriller. As Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, enters the second half, the stakes are higher, the conflicts more personal, and the sense of imminent danger ever present. The story has already established its central themes: justice, betrayal, and redemption. But now, these elements begin to collide in a way that leaves the audience on the edge of their seat, as the narrative surges toward its explosive climax. With a relentless pace and escalating emotional stakes, the second half of the film is where everything comes to a head, where characters are forced to confront their darkest impulses, and where the true cost of vengeance is laid bare. Following the devastating betrayal by a trusted informant in the first half, Juan, Bong Ravilla, finds himself in an increasingly precarious position. He is no longer simply fighting against a criminal syndicate, but against a pervasive system of corruption that has infiltrated the very core of the city. The walls are closing in on him, but he refuses to back down, propelled by an unwavering sense of duty to protect the city and its people. It's clear that Juan's personal journey is as important as the external conflict, and the emotional stakes only deepen as the story moves forward. The search for Alderic, Unmasking the Mastermind. The film shifts its focus to the criminal empire led by the mysterious Alderic. While we've seen glimpses of this shadowy figure, it's only in the second half that we begin to understand just how deeply his influence has spread throughout the city. His syndicate has woven itself into the very fabric of the political and social infrastructure, making it nearly impossible to take down without threatening the stability of the entire city. Juan and Diana, the investigative reporter who has now become his trusted ally, continue their pursuit of the truth. As their investigation uncovers more information, they piece together the terrifying reality. Alderic is not just a criminal mastermind, but a man with a deep understanding of the city's power dynamics. He has corrupted not just law enforcement, but politicians, businessmen, and even members of the media. The city, it seems, is under his control, and Juan is the only one willing to stand against it. The tension heightens when Juan receives a tip that leads him directly to Alderic's secret hideout, a heavily guarded fortress hidden deep within the city's underbelly. The entire sequence is a masterclass in suspense. As Juan and his team infiltrate the hideout, the film shifts to a nerve-wracking atmosphere, with the audience unsure whether they'll make it out alive. The stakes are clear. If they fail, Alderic's syndicate will continue its stranglehold on the city, and Juan will be forever trapped in a cycle of violence and vengeance. The climax, a confrontation of power and ideals. The tension reaches its peak when Juan finally faces Alderic in a chilling confrontation. For much of the film, Alderic has remained an elusive figure, his presence felt, but not fully understood. Now, face to face with Juan, we finally see the man behind the empire. The confrontation is not just a physical battle. It's a clash of ideologies, a battle between two men who see the world in radically different ways. Alderic, played with chilling calm by the actor, is everything Juan is not. Where Juan is driven by an innate sense of justice, Alderic views the world as a place of survival, where power is the ultimate currency. Throughout their exchange, Alderic attempts to break Juan's resolve, challenging him to accept that the world is too corrupt to change, that justice is a pipe dream. He argues that Juan's idealism will only lead to his destruction. In this crucial moment, the film's true emotional weight is revealed. Juan, battered and bruised, stands his ground, refusing to accept Alderic's worldview. For him, justice is not just a goal. It is an unshakable belief that he has clung to through every hardship, every betrayal, and every loss. It's this internal struggle that has defined him, and it's what ultimately drives him toward the final showdown. The physical fight between the two men is brutal, each blow representing not only their personal animosity but the larger ideological battle playing out before them. The film's choreography shines in this sequence, with every punch, every grapple, contributing to the build-up of emotional and narrative tension. The fight isn't just about survival, it's about proving who is right. Ultimately, Juan emerges victorious, but it's a Pyrrhic victory, one that comes at a great personal cost. The cost of justice, a hero's sacrifice. As the dust settles, the aftermath of the final confrontation is sobering. Juan has defeated Alderic, but the victory feels hollow. The city may be freed from the syndicate's grip, but the damage done to Juan's own soul is far more profound. Throughout the film, we've seen him struggle with the consequences of his actions. In this moment, he is forced to reckon with the true cost of his pursuit of justice. One of the most powerful moments of the second half occurs when Juan, blooded and weary, stands over the fallen body of Alderic. In his eyes, we see not triumph, but a deep, existential weariness. The fight has been won, but at what cost? His allies, too, are left questioning whether the fight for justice is worth the personal toll it takes. The emotional weight of the film comes to the forefront here, as Juan is confronted by Diana, who asks him the difficult question, was it worth it? Juan's answer is not one of certainty but of quiet reflection. It's a heartbreaking moment that underscores the complexity of his character. He has fought for what he believes is right, but he is not blind to the toll it has taken on him and the people he loves. The audience is left to ponder the same question. Can one man truly change a broken system, or will he be consumed by it? A final betrayal, a twisted ending. In what becomes the final twist of the film, just as Juan and Diana believe they have emerged victorious, they discover that the battle is far from over. The true mastermind behind the syndicate, a figure who had remained in the shadows throughout the film, reveals themselves as the ultimate betrayer. It turns out that General Ramirez, who had once been a trusted ally, is the one who orchestrated the entire criminal operation. His betrayal of Juan is devastating, not just for its shock value but for the emotional weight it carries. General Ramirez's motivations are revealed in a tense and emotionally charged scene, where he justifies his actions by claiming that the system is too broken to fix. He argues that corruption is inevitable, and that the only way to survive is to embrace it. His rationalizations, however, only deepen the tragedy of his character. Once a man of honor, Ramirez has been consumed by the very corruption he once fought against. For Juan, this betrayal is the final breaking point. It's a moment of reckoning, where he realizes that his pursuit of justice has not only cost him his peace but also his trust in the people he once considered allies. The fact that his greatest adversary was someone he trusted with his life stings in a way no physical fight could. The emotional devastation is palpable, and it leaves Juan questioning whether the war for justice can ever truly be won. The resolution, a bittersweet victory. In the end, the resolution of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is both bittersweet and poignant. Juan, weary and scarred from the battles he has fought, walks away from the wreckage of the syndicate, not with the satisfaction of a job well done but with a deep sense of loss. The city may be safe, for now, but the war for justice is far from over. The film concludes with a final image of Juan, standing alone in the rain-soaked streets of Manila, a lone figure in a world that has tested his very soul. It's a haunting image, one that lingers long after the credits roll. The film doesn't provide a neat, tidy ending. There are no triumphant speeches or celebratory moments. Instead, it leaves us with the haunting truth that justice, in a world as broken as this, is often fleeting and elusive. As the camera pulls away from Juan, the film leaves the audience to grapple with its central themes: the cost of vengeance, the complexity of morality, and the impossibility of true justice in a corrupt world. There is no clear answer to the question that the film asks throughout. Is it worth it? Instead, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 leaves us to decide for ourselves, echoing the uncertainty and complexity of the real world. In the end, the movie delivers a powerful, unforgettable experience, a gripping action film that doesn't just thrill but also makes us reflect on the deeper, often painful truths of life. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, is a film that not only thrives on its intricate plot and stunning action sequences but also hinges on its characters, each one complex, multifaceted, and deeply human. At the heart of the story are characters that, despite being thrust into an unforgiving world, still wrestle with the forces of morality, justice, and betrayal. Their journeys, both physical and emotional, shape the film, adding layers of depth to an otherwise action-packed narrative. Through strong performances, the actors bring these characters to life, leaving an indelible mark on the audience. At the core of the film is Juan, played by Bong Ravilla, the archetypal hero whose unwavering commitment to justice propels much of the plot. From the very beginning, we understand that Juan is not merely a man seeking vengeance for past wrongs but a man driven by a deep moral compass. He is the embodiment of resilience, always pushing forward despite the growing weight of the world upon his shoulders. His journey is one of internal conflict as much as it is external. He must constantly confront his own beliefs about justice, violence, and sacrifice. Juan's internal struggles, the price of justice. From the outset, we see that Juan's motivations are not simply driven by a desire to destroy the criminal underworld or exact revenge on those who have wronged him. There's a sense that his fight is something deeper, more personal. As the film unfolds, it becomes clear that his crusade for justice has taken a toll on him, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. The weight of the decisions he makes, especially when it comes to his violent actions, weighs heavily on his conscience. As the film progresses, we are privy to glimpses of Juan's vulnerability, moments where his stoic exterior cracks, revealing a man who is deeply conflicted. His desire for justice begins to blur the line between righteousness and vengeance. These internal battles are conveyed masterfully by Bong Ravilla, who imbues Juan with a quiet intensity. Every action he takes, from the brutal fight scenes to the moments of introspection, is rooted in a sense of moral duty that is slowly being chipped away by the realities of the corrupt system he's trying to dismantle. Ravilla's portrayal of Juan is magnetic, carrying the weight of a man who, despite his best efforts, cannot escape the moral compromises that come with his choices. As the story reaches its emotional climax, Juan's character arc evolves into something bittersweet. He achieves his goal, bringing down the criminal syndicate, but at a personal cost that he cannot ignore. By the end of the film, Juan's victory is not a celebratory one but a somber acknowledgement of the sacrifices made along the way. His final moments in the rain-soaked streets, staring off into the distance, reflect the exhaustion of a man who has fought tirelessly for something greater than himself but realizes that the cost of such a fight is far more than he ever anticipated. Juan's arc, and the emotional depth Ravilla brings to the role, transforms him from a traditional action hero into a deeply flawed and compelling protagonist who is relatable and sympathetic. Diana, a catalyst for change. Diana, played by Vina Morales, is another central character whose role in the story is pivotal to Juan's development. She is a determined investigative reporter, driven by a desire to uncover the truth and expose the corruption that runs rampant through the city. While Juan's motivations are rooted in action and physicality, Diana represents the moral high ground, the belief that the truth can still bring about change without resorting to violence. At the beginning of the film, Diana's idealism is evident. She believes in the power of journalism, in the power of truth to challenge the established system of corruption. In her early interactions with Juan, it's clear that she sees him as a tool to help her in her mission. She views him as a necessary ally in a world where justice seems impossible to achieve through conventional means. However, as the story progresses, we witness a shift in her character. Her growing relationship with Juan forces her to confront the idea that sometimes, even truth and justice are not enough to win against a deeply corrupt system. Diana's evolution mirrors the changes in Juan. She begins to see that not all battles can be fought with words alone. While she still believes in the power of truth, her relationship with Juan challenges her beliefs. As they uncover more about the syndicate, Diana is forced to reconcile the differences between her ideals and the brutal reality they are up against. Vina Morales' performance is exceptional in capturing this internal conflict. She portrays Diana's transformation from an idealistic, almost naive, reporter to a woman who has seen the darkest parts of the world and has had to reconsider her approach to achieving justice. Diana also serves as a grounding influence for Juan. While his pursuit of justice often leads him down a path of destruction, Diana acts as a moral compass, reminding him that there is always a choice. Her role is crucial in showing that even in a world as corrupt as theirs, there is still hope in human connection and integrity. Morales' chemistry with Revilla is palpable, creating a relationship that is both tender and complex. It's not just a romantic partnership, but one of mutual respect and emotional growth. General Ramirez, the fall of an idealist. Perhaps the most tragic character in Isang Bala Ka Lang. Part 2 is General Ramirez, played by Gardo Versosa. Once an ally of Juan's, the general's descent into betrayal represents the film's exploration of moral compromise and the slow erosion of one's values. At first, Ramirez appears to be a man of integrity, someone who, like Juan, believes in upholding justice in a corrupt world. However, as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Ramirez's moral compass has been compromised by the very system he once fought against. His betrayal is both shocking and heartbreaking. Throughout the film, we watch him struggle with his loyalties to Juan and his own self-preservation. Ramirez represents the idea that even those who start with the best of intentions can be corrupted by power and fear. His actions are driven not by personal gain, but by a belief that the system is so broken that survival requires embracing corruption. His ultimate betrayal of Juan is the emotional peak of the film, as it forces Juan to confront the painful reality that even his closest allies cannot be trusted. Gardo Versosa's performance as General Ramirez is layered and nuanced. He plays a man torn between loyalty and self-preservation, between idealism and the harsh reality of the world around him. The tragedy of Ramirez lies in the fact that his fall is not the result of malicious intent, but rather the consequence of a world that demands moral compromise for survival. Ramirez's betrayal is not just a plot twist, it's a poignant commentary on the fragility of human integrity when faced with overwhelming odds. The secondary characters, the sympathetic villains and the unsung heroes. While Juan, Diana, and General Ramirez are the primary characters, the film also features a strong supporting cast that enhances the narrative and adds depth to the world they inhabit. These secondary characters play vital roles in the unfolding story, and their contributions to the plot are essential in driving forward the themes of the film. Detective Salazar, played by Johnny Delgado, is one such character. As a dedicated but morally conflicted officer of the law, Salazar is torn between his duty and his knowledge of the corruption around him. He has worked with Juan in the past, and despite his reservations, he continues to help Juan in his pursuit of justice. Salazar's loyalty is tested throughout the film, and while he is a secondary character, his moral struggle echoes the larger theme of compromise that pervades the story. Johnny Delgado's portrayal of Salazar adds a level of humanity to a character who could have easily been one-dimensional. Salazar is not just an ally to Juan. He represents the everyday person trying to navigate a world where right and wrong are no longer clear-cut. Then there's Antonio, played by Jao Mapa, a character who starts as a minor figure but grows into an important part of Juan's team. Antonio is a scrappy, street-smart individual who helps Juan in his fight against the syndicate. His loyalty to Juan is unwavering, and while he may not have the same moral authority as Diana or the same raw physical power as Juan, his courage and wit make him an indispensable ally. Jao Mapa brings a lightness to Antonio's character, providing a much-needed contrast to the darker, more serious moments of the film. Antonio's contributions are vital, and his character is a reminder that even the most unlikely heroes have a part to play in the larger battle for justice. The legacy of the film's characters. In the end, the characters in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 are what truly make the film stand out. Through their complex motivations, arcs, and growth, the audience is given a deeper understanding of the film's central themes of justice, morality, and sacrifice. The characters aren't just vehicles for action. They are the emotional core of the film, making their struggles and triumphs all the more compelling. Bong Ravilla's portrayal of Juan stands as the centerpiece of the film, creating a character who feels both larger than life and heartbreakingly human. Vina Morales' Diana offers a refreshing counterbalance, grounding the film in moral integrity while adding depth to the narrative. Gardo Versosa's General Ramirez serves as the embodiment of moral decay, his tragic fall marking the film's emotional turning point. And the supporting characters, though secondary, all contribute in meaningful ways, helping to create a complex world in which the battle for justice is fought not just through violence, but through human connections, sacrifices, and the unyielding quest for truth. Each actor, through their nuanced performances, has made these characters unforgettable, giving life to a story that transcends its action-packed moments and leaves a lasting emotional impact. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, may be an action-packed film brimming with tension, emotion, and intricate storytelling, but it also hides a wealth of subtle details, references, and Easter eggs that elevate the narrative for viewers keen enough to catch them. The filmmakers, aware that many viewers are looking for something more than just a standard action movie, craft a story filled with intricate connections, foreshadowing, and symbolic motifs. These details serve not only as fascinating callbacks to pop culture, history, and other films, but also deepen the emotional resonance of the narrative. By examining these hidden gems, we gain a new level of appreciation for the intricacies of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, and the layers of meaning woven throughout. Foreshadowing and symbolism, seeds of the future. One of the most striking aspects of the film's storytelling is the way it masterfully uses foreshadowing to set up key plot points and emotional beats. Early in the film, Juan, Bong Ravilla, is seen making small, seemingly insignificant decisions that will later have profound consequences. These moments, when re-examined after the events of the film unfold, show how nothing is truly random in this world. Every action, every conversation, and every setting has a deeper meaning. For instance, one of the first scenes involving Juan's pursuit of justice is set in an old, dilapidated building, symbolic of the decaying system he's fighting against. As he navigates the shadowy hallways, the camera lingers on the crumbling walls, the shattered windows, and the darkness enveloping him. This building represents not just the criminal empire he's fighting, but also the broken, corrupt system that has taken hold of the city. The imagery of decay foreshadows the eventual unraveling of Juan's own ideals and the cost of his fight for justice. As the film progresses, this setting reappears in various forms, each time a reminder that what appears to be broken beyond repair is, in some ways, reflective of Juan's internal struggles. Another piece of foreshadowing is the recurring motif of storms and rain, which often coincide with the most pivotal moments in the plot. Rain represents cleansing, but also sorrow and tumult. As the film builds toward its emotional climax, the rain becomes a metaphor for the internal storms Juan faces as he grapples with his choices and their consequences. The rain during the final confrontation is no coincidence. It symbolizes the flood of emotions that Juan must contend with as he realizes the extent of the sacrifices he has made for his pursuit of justice. The weather, in this sense, is not merely a backdrop but an integral element of the narrative, emphasizing the emotional turmoil that drives Juan's decisions. References to Filipino culture and history. At its core, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is a reflection on the socio-political landscape of the Philippines, and the film is rich with references to Filipino history and culture that give the story a sense of rootedness and realism. Throughout the movie, there are subtle nods to the tumultuous political climate of the 1990s, a time when corruption, inequality, and systemic abuse of power were rampant. These elements, while not overtly political, subtly anchor the narrative in the struggles faced by ordinary Filipinos. One of the most telling references in the film is its portrayal of the media. Diana Vina Morales, an investigative reporter, represents the Filipino journalists' ongoing battle against government corruption and societal injustice. Her character is a direct nod to the importance of press freedom, which in the Philippines has often been under threat due to censorship, harassment, and violence against journalists. Diana's role as a truth seeker, determined to expose the corrupt powers at play, is symbolic of the real-life efforts by many Filipino journalists who have risked their lives to reveal the darker side of the country's political establishment. This reference not only deepens Diana's character but also subtly comments on the relationship between media, truth, and power. Furthermore, the complex moral dilemmas faced by the characters can be seen as an allegory for the Philippines' struggle with its post-colonial identity. The tension between idealism and pragmatism, and the theme of betrayal, mirrors the country's own challenges in reconciling its desire for progress with the historical weight of corruption and inequality. Juan's commitment to justice, despite the overwhelming odds stacked against him, can be interpreted as a symbolic representation of the Filipino people's resilience in the face of systemic oppression. Nods to Filipino cinema and action tropes. As a tribute to Filipino action cinema, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 incorporates several references to iconic moments and tropes from earlier films in the genre. One such reference is the inclusion of a no-nonsense, hard-hitting protagonist, a staple of Filipino action heroes. The very essence of Juan's character recalls the larger-than-life action heroes of the 1980s and 1990s, often portrayed by stars like Fernando Poe Jr. and Rudy Fernandez, who became icons for their portrayals of justice-seeking men fighting against the odds. The film's use of this trope, while clearly paying homage to these legendary figures, also offers a fresh take by infusing Juan's character with a deeper sense of moral conflict and introspection. The gritty, urban setting of the film also recalls the classic city noir style of action films, where the urban jungle becomes both a battleground and a symbol of the harshness of society. The streets of Manila, with their chaotic traffic, looming skyscrapers, and hidden alleyways, form a key part of the film's visual identity. This setting mirrors the morally ambiguous world Juan inhabits, a world where right and wrong are often blurred, and every victory comes at a price. This urban landscape, filled with danger and opportunity in equal measure, draws direct inspiration from Filipino films of the past, which often portrayed the city as a battleground for justice and survival. A more specific Easter egg for cinephiles comes in the form of a nod to the 1970s action classic Ang Panday, The Blacksmith, another film that heavily influenced the Filipino action genre. A brief scene in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 features a sword fight in which the sword is forged in a blacksmith's shop, an unmistakable homage to the iconic blacksmith character in Ang Panday. This reference is not only a nod to the classic action genre but also underscores the theme of forging one's own destiny, much like how the blacksmith in Ang Panday forged the hero's weapon. The connection between these two films may be subtle, but it enriches the experience for those who are familiar with Filipino cinematic history. Easter eggs and callbacks to pop culture. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 also features a range of Easter eggs that reward sharp-eyed viewers with additional layers of enjoyment. One of the more hidden details is the cameo by a well-known Filipino actor in a minor role. A brief shot features a newspaper headline showing an arrest of a corrupt politician, and in the background, the name of the arrested official is an inside joke, a reference to a political figure that was infamous at the time for their alleged involvement in scandals. This subtle reference might go unnoticed by those unfamiliar with the context, but it adds a layer of realism and humor for those in the know. Another Easter egg involves a line of dialogue that echoes a famous quote from the legendary actor Fernando Poe Jr., often regarded as the king of Filipino action films. In a tense scene, Juan delivers a line that echoes Poe's iconic line in Ang Probinsyano, Hindi ako titigil hanggang hindi ko nahahanap ang katarungan. I won't stop until I find justice. The line itself is a clear homage to Poe's memorable characters, making it a tribute to the legacy of Filipino action cinema. This nod serves not only as a tribute to Poe's influence but also ties Juan's mission for justice to the larger tradition of Filipino action heroes. The final confrontation and the echoes of Filipino mythology. As the film reaches its emotional and narrative peak, the final confrontation between Juan and Alderic is not just a battle of physical strength but also one laden with symbolic significance. In Filipino mythology, the concept of the bagani, warrior, is often associated with a hero who fights not only for personal honor but also for the protection of the community. The final battle between Juan and Alderic plays out like a modern retelling of this ancient hero's journey. While the specific mythological references are subtle, the final showdown taps into the collective understanding of Filipino mythology, where the hero's victory often comes at the cost of personal sacrifice. This connection deepens the resonance of the film's conclusion, making it not just a fight between two men, but between two ideologies, the belief in justice versus the harsh reality of power and corruption. Conclusion. Layers of meaning beneath the surface. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 may be filled with explosive action sequences and heart-pounding moments, but its true brilliance lies in the subtle details and hidden gems that deepen the narrative. Through foreshadowing, symbolic imagery, and thoughtful references to Filipino culture, history, and mythology, the filmmakers have crafted a world that rewards viewers who pay close attention. The Easter eggs, whether they are visual cues, dialogue callbacks, or references to Filipino cinema, add layers of complexity to the story, making it a richer and more rewarding experience for those willing to look beyond the surface. For casual viewers, these details may remain hidden, but for the discerning film lover, they create a much fuller cinematic tapestry. By exploring these layers, we not only appreciate the skillful craftsmanship behind Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, but we also gain a deeper understanding of the world it portrays, a world of justice, betrayal, and the struggle to maintain one's integrity in an ever-changing society. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, is more than just an action-packed Filipino film. It's a product of intense creativity, rigorous production, and the dedication of its cast and crew. While the film has become a beloved classic in Philippine cinema, the journey to its creation wasn't without its fair share of challenges, surprises, and fascinating behind-the-scenes moments. Uncovering these aspects provides a deeper appreciation of the film, revealing how the synergy of talented individuals, creative decisions, and unexpected obstacles led to a production that continues to captivate audiences. The movie's production was heavily influenced by the success of the first Isang Bala Ka Lang, which had already established the franchise as a prominent action series. However, creating the sequel presented new hurdles and pressures, as the filmmakers had to craft a story that could live up to the legacy of the original while introducing fresh, exciting elements to keep the audience engaged. The pressure was palpable, with the stakes high for both the cast and crew as they set out to deliver a sequel that would surpass expectations. The challenge of sequel expectations. One of the most significant challenges the filmmakers faced was crafting a sequel that would not only meet the high standards set by the first film but also outdo it in every way. Isang Bala Ka Lang, the first film, was a massive success, cementing Bong Ravilla as one of the top action stars in the country. The sequel had a large shadow to step into, with the pressure on the filmmakers to retain the essence of the original while pushing the narrative in exciting new directions. Early in the production, the team was keenly aware of the challenge of keeping the action sequences fresh without compromising the core elements that fans loved about the first film. Director Tony Y. Reyes and the scriptwriters understood that action films often stand or fall based on their ability to surprise the audience, to push the limits of what had been done before, and to add emotional depth to the spectacle. They set out to make the sequel feel bigger, with higher stakes and more intense action, but also ensured that the story remained emotionally grounded. This balance was a critical element of the movie's success, and it was a direct result of careful planning, long hours of writing, and collaboration between the creative team. Bong Ravilla's commitment to his role. Bong Ravilla, who played the main character Juan, was deeply involved in shaping his character's arc, making it a priority to give audiences a deeper emotional connection with Juan in the sequel. While Revilla had already established himself as an action hero, he wanted to bring more depth to Juan this time around, exploring the character's internal struggle as much as his physical battles. Revilla's commitment to making Juan a multifaceted hero was evident in his approach to the role, from the emotional weight he brought to key scenes to his intense physical preparation for the action sequences. Revilla was known for doing his own stunts, which added an authentic sense of grit to the action sequences. However, this decision came with its challenges. In one particularly intense scene, where Juan is involved in a high-speed chase through the bustling streets of Manila, Revilla had to maneuver through traffic at speeds that, at times, bordered on dangerous. The director and crew were well aware of the risks involved in these stunts and took extra precautions to ensure everyone's safety. Nevertheless, Revilla's dedication to delivering an adrenaline-fueled performance meant that he was often willing to take the risks necessary to achieve the raw intensity that became a hallmark of his portrayal of Juan. One particularly memorable moment occurred during the film's final fight sequence. To create the most realistic and visceral combat experience, Revilla insisted on performing the majority of the stunts himself, even in the most challenging physical confrontations. This decision not only highlighted Revilla's commitment to the film, but also helped to elevate the realism of the action. The final sequence is one of the most iconic scenes in the movie, and Revilla's willingness to push himself physically is a testament to his dedication to his craft. On-set surprises, behind the action. While Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 was marked by impressive action sequences, it was also home to a few unexpected surprises behind the scenes. One of the most interesting moments occurred during the filming of a scene set in a dark, decrepit warehouse, an important setting that plays a pivotal role in the unfolding drama. The warehouse was a rundown building located on the outskirts of Manila, which the production team had scouted months before filming. What the crew didn't anticipate, however, was the presence of squatters who had claimed the space as their own. As the crew began setting up for the scene, they were confronted with the squatters, who were not too pleased about the intrusion. Tensions ran high for a while, as the crew tried to negotiate with the locals to allow them to continue filming. Eventually, the situation was resolved when the producers offered to pay a small fee to the squatters, but not before some tense moments on set. This incident inadvertently added to the gritty atmosphere of the scene, as the dilapidated warehouse, with its rough and unforgiving backdrop, perfectly reflected the moral decay and corrupt world that Juan was fighting against. Another behind-the-scenes story that added an interesting layer to the movie's production was the film's choice of costume and makeup. The decision to dress the characters in weathered, practical clothing was an intentional one, aiming to make the characters feel more grounded and realistic. However, this attention to detail came with its own set of challenges. For example, during the filming of an intense action scene, where Juan must fight his way through a crowd, the costume department had to ensure that Revilla's outfit stayed intact amidst the chaos of the fight. On one occasion, the shirt Revilla wore during an action scene was accidentally torn in such a way that it nearly left him exposed in a key shot. The wardrobe team scrambled to fix the issue, making the necessary adjustments just in time for the next take. The involvement of Vina Morales and the chemistry with Bong Ravilla. Vina Morales, who played the role of Diana, the determined investigative journalist, had a significant role in elevating the film's emotional depth. While she was primarily known for her music career at the time, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 allowed Morales to step into a more dramatic and action-oriented role. Her portrayal of Diana was multifaceted, showing not just her strength and resolve but also her vulnerability and emotional complexity. The chemistry between Morales and Revilla was palpable, and the relationship between their characters, both a romantic and professional partnership, was one of the driving forces behind the narrative's emotional impact. Morales' commitment to her role involved significant preparation. For the scenes in which Diana investigates corruption and uncovers clues, Morales worked with the film's writers to ensure that her character's investigative methods were realistic. This attention to detail contributed to the believability of Diana's character and made her integral to the plot. She also spent time learning how to handle the props that her character used, especially in scenes where she wielded weapons or engaged in physical altercations. Behind the scenes, Morales and Revilla developed a strong rapport, often rehearsing together and brainstorming ways to bring their characters' relationship to life. Their off-screen chemistry translated seamlessly to the screen, creating a partnership that felt authentic and grounded in mutual respect. The emotional depth of their relationship added a layer of complexity to the film, as their bond ultimately becomes one of the central emotional arcs in the story. Controversial themes and public reactions. Despite the film's widespread success, it did not escape controversy. One of the most significant points of discussion was the portrayal of violence and the moral ambiguity surrounding Juan's quest for justice. Some critics and viewers raised concerns that the film glorified vigilantism, particularly in the way Juan's actions often blurred the line between right and wrong. As a result, the film sparked conversations about the role of media and cinema in shaping public perceptions of justice, violence, and morality. The portrayal of corruption and systemic abuse in the film also struck a chord with audiences, many of whom saw parallels with real-world issues in the Philippines. The film's focus on exposing the seedy underbelly of politics and crime resonated deeply with a public disillusioned by the ongoing struggles with political corruption and inequality. Some critics hailed the film as an important commentary on the state of the nation, while others criticized its depiction of violence as overly sensationalized. Legacy and impact on Filipino cinema. Upon its release, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 made an indelible mark on the landscape of Filipino action films. The movie's success at the box office and with audiences proved that there was a strong demand for action films with emotional depth and realistic stakes. It not only solidified Bong Ravilla's status as an action star but also demonstrated the importance of character-driven storytelling within the genre. The film's success set a new standard for Filipino action cinema, inspiring other filmmakers to follow suit and explore themes of justice, corruption, and personal sacrifice in more nuanced ways. The influence of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 can still be seen in contemporary Filipino action films, which continue to draw from the movie's blend of hard-hitting action and emotional complexity. It remains an important part of the canon of Filipino action cinema, a testament to the creativity, dedication, and passion of its cast and crew. In conclusion, the making of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 was a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and unforgettable moments. From overcoming obstacles on set to navigating the pressures of creating a successful sequel, the film's production story is as fascinating as the movie itself. The talented cast, the creative decisions, and the unexpected events that unfolded during production all contributed to the final product, making it a standout piece in Filipino cinema. It's a film that continues to be remembered and celebrated for its thrilling action, its rich emotional depth, and the incredible efforts of those who brought it to life. In Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, every scene is loaded with emotional intensity, offering a glimpse into the complexities of its characters, the harsh realities of the world they inhabit, and the central themes of justice, sacrifice, and moral conflict. As the film unfolds, certain key moments stand out not only for their dramatic impact but for how they deepen the narrative, heighten the emotional stakes, and invite the audience to reflect on the intricate dynamics at play. Through a critical analysis of these pivotal scenes, we can uncover how each contributes to the story's thematic weight and shapes the audience's perception of the characters and the film as a whole. The opening sequence, introducing the harsh reality. The film opens with a high-octane sequence that immediately sets the tone for the action and stakes to come. The camera follows Juan, Bong Ravilla, as he pursues a criminal underworld kingpin, engaging in an intense and chaotic shootout with the villain's men. The sequence is fast-paced, filled with quick edits, and full of raw action, gunfire, explosions, and daring stunts. But beyond its action-driven surface, this scene establishes several key thematic elements that will shape the story. The constant battle between good and evil, the dangers of unchecked power, and the cost of justice. At first glance, this opening sequence might seem like a standard introduction to an action film, pitting the hero against faceless antagonists. However, as the audience watches Juan's relentless pursuit, it becomes clear that his fight is not just against these particular criminals, but against a much larger, more corrupt system. The action isn't glamorous or glorified. It's gritty and disorienting, highlighting the chaotic nature of the battle Juan faces. This sets the stage for the moral ambiguity and the emotional depth that will unfold throughout the film. The opening sequence introduces the audience to Juan's world, a world where justice is hard to come by, and where the line between right and wrong is often blurred. The pace of the sequence also signals a high level of intensity and urgency, drawing the viewer into the adrenaline-fueled atmosphere of the film. But it also foreshadows the emotional toll of Juan's crusade. The scene is quick, messy, and filled with action, but it is also draining, representing the long, uphill battle Juan will face as he seeks retribution. In a way, this sequence is a microcosm of the film's larger themes. Fast-paced action that has real emotional consequences, a reflection of the sacrifices the characters make as they fight for justice. Diana's, Vina Morales, investigative journey, a moment of truth. One of the pivotal scenes in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 occurs when Diana, Vina Morales, begins to uncover the true extent of corruption within the political system. In a tense moment, she follows a trail of evidence that leads her to a secret meeting between powerful figures who have been manipulating both the legal system and the media to maintain their grip on power. As Diana sits in her car, secretly listening in on this conversation, the film builds a sense of anticipation and dread. This scene is a turning point in the film, as it marks Diana's shift from being a passive observer to an active participant in the fight for justice. Up until this point, she has been a reporter who is sympathetic to Juan's mission, but this moment forces her to confront the full scope of the corruption she is investigating. It's also the moment when her personal and professional lives collide, and the stakes of the investigation become much more personal. Diana's character arc, which is largely defined by her growing determination and courage, is propelled forward in this scene as she realizes just how dangerous it will be to expose the powerful forces that have been pulling the strings. The way the scene is framed also plays a crucial role in intensifying the emotional impact. The camera focuses on Diana's face, her eyes wide with realization and fear. As the conversation in the background grows more heated, the camera lingers on Diana's expressions, her fear, her resolve, and her sense of responsibility. This emotional undercurrent is amplified by the subtle but tense sound design. The muffled voices of the politicians, the soft hum of the car engine, and the silence between words, all of which emphasize the gravity of the situation. Diana, once an observer, now has a personal stake in the battle for justice, and the scene invites the audience to share her shock and fear as she steps deeper into a world where the stakes are life and death. This scene not only advances the plot but also shifts the thematic focus of the film. While Juan's journey has largely been about seeking revenge and justice through brute force, Diana's investigation is about uncovering the truth through intellect and strategy. The juxtaposition of these two approaches, the physical fight for justice versus the intellectual fight for truth, creates a fascinating contrast, setting the stage for the eventual convergence of their paths. Juan's inner conflict, the breaking point. One of the most emotionally charged moments in the film occurs when Juan finds himself at a crossroads, struggling with his conscience over the increasingly violent nature of his quest for justice. In a particularly poignant scene, Juan sits alone in his home, reflecting on the personal cost of his actions. The weight of his decisions is palpable as he looks at a picture of his family, his face filled with both regret and determination. The camera captures his internal struggle, lingering on his clenched fists and the cold, dark shadows that surround him. This moment is crucial in the development of Juan's character. Up until this point, he has been portrayed as a relentless force for justice, determined to bring down the corrupt system at any cost. But in this scene, the viewer sees that this unwavering commitment comes at a steep emotional price. Juan is not a simple action hero, but a man who is torn between his duty to his family, his moral compass, and his desire for vengeance. His inner turmoil becomes a microcosm of the broader theme of the film: the sacrifices individuals must make when they fight for justice in an unjust world. The use of lighting and framing in this scene enhances the emotional depth. The dim lighting emphasizes the internal darkness Juan feels, while the tight close-ups on his face make the viewer feel the weight of his struggle. The silence of the moment is punctuated only by the soft sounds of the city outside, which only intensify the sense of isolation that Juan feels. This scene is a moment of vulnerability for the character, and it provides the audience with a deeper understanding of the emotional toll his crusade has taken on him. It also introduces a crucial element to the story: the realization that the pursuit of justice is not without its consequences, and that Juan must decide what kind of man he wants to be in the face of overwhelming odds. This moment of introspection significantly shapes the audience's emotional investment in the character. Juan's decision to press on despite his inner conflict resonates with viewers, who are forced to consider the price of standing up for what's right in a world filled with corruption and violence. It's a moment that invites the audience to reflect on their own values and the personal costs of their decisions, making the film's emotional stakes even more profound. The final confrontation, a moment of reckoning. The climactic battle between Juan and his primary antagonist, Alderic, the corrupt politician, is the moment the entire film has been building toward. However, it is not simply the physical confrontation that defines this scene. It is the emotional weight and thematic resonance that underpins it. As Juan and Alderic face off in a tense, high-stakes showdown, the film reaches its emotional zenith. The stakes of the confrontation are personal for both characters. For Juan, it's the culmination of his quest for justice, a final attempt to bring down the corrupt forces that have been tearing apart the fabric of his society. For Alderic, it is a battle for survival, as his entire empire is crumbling in the face of Juan's relentless pursuit. What makes this scene so powerful is how it encapsulates the core themes of the film: justice, corruption, vengeance, and the toll of war. As the fight plays out, the film's central question becomes clear: what is the true cost of justice, and can it ever truly be achieved through violence? The emotional power of the scene lies in how it challenges the audience's perception of right and wrong. Juan's pursuit of justice has been brutal and uncompromising, but by the end of the film, he is forced to reckon with the consequences of his actions. The scene forces the audience to confront the complexity of justice, how it is both a noble cause and a potentially destructive force, especially when pursued through violent means. The final confrontation between Juan and Alderic serves as a sobering reminder that justice is not always black and white, and that the price of victory may be higher than anticipated. The way the scene is shot also adds to its emotional intensity. The use of wide shots during the battle, paired with close-ups that focus on the characters' expressions, allows the audience to feel the full weight of the moment. The music swells at key moments, but it never overwhelms the scene. Instead, it complements the emotional tension, heightening the stakes without overshadowing the drama. Every punch, every move in the fight feels deliberate, and the sense of finality in the scene underscores the film's thematic core. That justice is not without its sacrifices, and sometimes, it's the hero who pays the highest price. Conclusion: emotional and thematic resonance. The key moments in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 are not merely action-packed set pieces. They are crucial turning points that shape the story's emotional depth and thematic complexity. From the opening sequence to the final confrontation, the film builds an emotional arc that captures the personal toll of seeking justice in an unjust world. Each pivotal moment, whether it's Juan's internal conflict, Diana's investigative journey, or the climactic showdown, adds layers of meaning to the narrative, offering the audience a story that is as much about emotional sacrifice as it is about physical combat. These moments invite the viewer to engage with the characters on a deeper level, making the film not just an action-packed thrill ride, but a poignant exploration of morality, justice, and the cost of standing up for what's right. Creating Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, involved more than just a talented cast delivering powerful performances. It was a blend of creative and technical innovations, problem-solving, and thoughtful choices that ultimately elevated the film into the iconic action-packed thriller that audiences still celebrate today. Behind every explosive action sequence, every emotional beat, and every tense confrontation lies a team of filmmakers, technicians, and creatives who worked tirelessly to craft a cinematic experience that would leave an indelible mark on Philippine cinema. This deep dive into the behind-the-scenes insights and technical feats of the film reveals how the production's challenges were met with creative solutions, making the movie not only an action spectacle but a testament to the dedication and passion of everyone involved. The evolution of the story and script, a sequel that needed to stand out. From the very beginning, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 had the difficult task of living up to its predecessor while still delivering a fresh, dynamic narrative. The success of the first film, Isang Bala Ka Lang, 1995, meant that the sequel had to be just as engaging, if not more so, to capture the audience's attention. However, crafting a sequel is always a delicate task, especially when it comes to maintaining the balance between delivering more of what worked in the first movie while introducing new ideas and deeper emotional beats. The writing team, led by the seasoned screenwriters, spent countless hours brainstorming and refining the script to ensure the story would be both familiar and new. One of the most pivotal changes in the sequel was the deepening of the emotional complexity of the characters, especially that of the protagonist, Juan, Bong Ravilla. The film's themes of justice, vengeance, and corruption were explored more intensely, providing a more layered narrative. The decision to explore Juan's internal conflict about his methods and his moral struggle made him a more relatable and multidimensional character. These elements were vital in allowing the film to transcend the typical action flick and resonate on a more emotional level with the audience. At the same time, the screenwriters understood that action was still at the heart of the story. They worked closely with director Tony Y. Reyes to ensure that the film maintained the high-octane action that was expected from the franchise while also ensuring the plot never lost momentum. The writers had to walk a fine line. How could they build tension, escalate the stakes, and keep the audience engaged without losing the emotional core of the story? The solution was to carefully weave action into the narrative, ensuring each scene was both a spectacle and a step forward in the characters' journeys. Director Tony Y. Reyes, a visionary at the helm. Director Tony Y. Reyes was integral to shaping Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 into the film that audiences would ultimately flock to theaters for. Reyes, a seasoned director known for his work on action and drama films, brought a distinct vision and clarity of purpose to the film. His experience in balancing narrative and action ensured that the sequences were not only thrilling but served the story. One of the significant creative choices Reyes made was in the way he approached the action scenes. Rather than simply focusing on high-speed chases or explosive shootouts, Reyes worked to integrate the emotional stakes into these sequences. Whether it was Juan fighting a powerful adversary or navigating through intense combat situations, Reyes ensured that each action beat was carefully choreographed to reflect the character's internal struggles. The sequences were not just physical confrontations. They were an extension of the character's arcs. Reyes also had a keen eye for creating atmosphere and mood. In certain scenes, such as the tense confrontations in dark, gritty locations like warehouses or underground lairs, he utilized lighting and framing to elevate the tension. The strategic use of shadows and harsh lighting created an almost oppressive atmosphere, visually representing the moral ambiguity of the world Juan was fighting against. Reyes' careful direction ensured that every fight, every argument, and every moment of suspense had a visual identity that complemented the film's tone. One particularly notable decision was the use of practical effects for the action sequences. In an era before the heavy use of CGI, Reyes chose to rely on practical stunts and effects to create visceral, real-world thrills. This decision meant that much of the film's action, whether it was gunfights, car chases, or physical confrontations, was grounded in reality. This authenticity made the film's action feel more immediate and dangerous, further immersing the audience in the world of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2. Bong Ravilla's commitment. A star who stays in character. At the center of the film's emotional and action-driven appeal was Bong Ravilla, who returned as the leading man, Juan. Revilla, already an established action star, knew that the stakes were high in returning to the role. For him, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 was more than just an opportunity to do more stunts. It was an opportunity to explore the character in a more complex way. Revilla's commitment to his role was evident both in his physical preparation and in the emotional weight he brought to the character. As an action star, Revilla was known for performing his own stunts, and he didn't shy away from the most intense scenes in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2. In one sequence, he had to engage in a car chase through Manila's busy streets, which involved weaving in and out of traffic at high speeds. Revilla insisted on doing the stunts himself, even though the risk involved was considerable. He worked closely with the stunt coordinators to ensure that his performance was not only thrilling but also believable. This level of commitment wasn't limited to the physical aspects of his performance. Revilla also worked closely with director Tony Y. Reyes to add depth to Juan's character. He brought a level of vulnerability and introspection to the role that allowed the audience to see beyond Juan's tough exterior. In particular, the scenes where Juan grapples with his internal conflict, torn between seeking vengeance and doing what is morally right, were some of Revilla's finest moments. His ability to bring emotional gravitas to a character who, on the surface, could have been a simple action hero, was a testament to his range as an actor. Revilla's dedication to the character extended to his interactions with the rest of the cast, particularly Vina Morales, Diana, who played the investigative journalist and Juan's love interest. The chemistry between Revilla and Morales was undeniable, and much of it stemmed from their shared understanding of their characters' emotional arcs. As the film progressed, Revilla and Morales' performances complemented one another, bringing depth to the film's romantic subplot while also providing the emotional grounding needed to balance the high-stakes action. Innovative action sequences, elevating the thrills. One of the standout aspects of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is its action sequences, which were among the best of their time in Filipino cinema. The film employed a mix of practical effects, strategic choreography, and inventive camera work to create action scenes that were not only thrilling but also cinematic in their scope. The car chase sequences, in particular, stood out for their intensity. During the filming of a particularly harrowing chase through the streets of Manila, the crew encountered several challenges. The busy city streets provided a chaotic environment, making it difficult to capture the action shots without disrupting traffic or endangering the actors. However, thanks to the work of the film's stunt team and camera operators, the sequences were filmed with a level of intensity that mirrored the stakes of the scene. The camera's positioning allowed the audience to feel like they were in the midst of the chase, enhancing the tension and excitement. Another notable technical feat was the film's use of practical effects in the fight scenes. Many of the stunts and battles were choreographed with precision, ensuring that the physicality of the performances felt raw and unpolished. This approach allowed the audience to feel the weight of each blow, making the violence feel more impactful and grounded. The realism of these sequences was enhanced by the decision to use minimal special effects, focusing instead on the actor's physical commitment to the action. This helped the fight sequences stand out in an era where heavy reliance on CGI was becoming more common. The use of lighting and shadow also played a key role in amplifying the impact of the action. Director Tony Y. Reyes employed a strategic blend of harsh lighting and deep shadows to emphasize the tension and danger present in each fight. This choice wasn't just a technical decision, it was a visual reflection of the film's themes of moral ambiguity and the ever-present danger in Juan's quest for justice. The soundtrack, a vital component of the experience. While the action and performances were central to the film's success, the music and sound design were equally essential in creating the emotional atmosphere and dramatic tension. The soundtrack, composed by Jorge Canseco, was an integral part of shaping the mood of the film. From the pounding beats during action sequences to the more subdued, haunting melodies during moments of reflection, the music underscored the emotional highs and lows of the story. The sound design, too, played a critical role in bringing the action scenes to life. The use of sound effects during the fight sequences, gunshots, explosions, the clashing of weapons, created a visceral and immersive experience for the viewer. The sounds were carefully layered to ensure that each moment was as intense as possible, enhancing the stakes of each confrontation. In particular, the scenes involving close combat were accompanied by heightened sound effects that amplified the physicality of the battles. Conclusion: a testament to creative excellence. Behind the intense action, complex characters, and compelling drama of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 lies a team of filmmakers, actors, and technicians whose creative and technical achievements shaped the film's legacy. From the strategic narrative choices to the cutting-edge action sequences, every element of the film was crafted with intention and care. Director Tony Y. Reyes' vision, combined with the physical dedication of Bong Ravilla, the innovative stunt work, and the atmospheric music and sound design, culminated in a film that stands out as a seminal entry in the genre of Filipino action cinema. The dedication of everyone involved in the film's production made it not just an action spectacle, but an emotional and cinematic experience that continues to be appreciated by audiences today. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, is not simply an action-packed thriller. Beneath the explosive gunfights and high-octane chase sequences lies a film that tackles complex societal issues, moral dilemmas, and the pursuit of justice in a corrupt world. The movie uses its narrative to explore themes of power, vengeance, morality, and the personal cost of justice, while also offering a pointed commentary on corruption, class struggles, and the toll that systemic dysfunction takes on individuals and communities. By examining the deeper meanings of the film's themes and symbolism, we can uncover how Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 resonates not only as a piece of entertainment but also as a cultural and social reflection. The corrupt system and the struggle for justice. At its core, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is about the fight for justice in a world rife with corruption. The film introduces us to Juan, Bong Ravilla, a man who is driven by the desire to right the wrongs done to his community and bring down the criminal networks that are tightly intertwined with the political establishment. As the story unfolds, the audience sees how Juan's personal vendetta intersects with a larger, more systemic issue: the rampant corruption within the government and law enforcement agencies. This theme of corruption is a persistent undercurrent in the film, one that is impossible for Juan to escape, no matter how hard he tries. The film's portrayal of a corrupt system feels especially relevant given the political climate of the time. In the 1990s, the Philippines was still grappling with the aftermath of the People Power Revolution and the toppling of Ferdinand Marcos' dictatorship. While the country had ushered in a new era of democracy, political instability, economic inequality, and corruption were still major issues that affected everyday Filipinos. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 taps into these national frustrations, painting a picture of a broken system where those in power are often the very people exploiting and oppressing the marginalized. Juan's journey, in many ways, symbolizes the struggle of ordinary citizens trying to navigate an unjust system. His tireless pursuit of justice is both an act of heroism and a reflection of the frustrations many people feel when faced with the inertia of a corrupt government. However, the film makes it clear that in the face of such entrenched corruption, justice is not easily attained, and sometimes, even the most righteous individuals are forced to compromise their morals. As Juan's quest for vengeance becomes more personal and violent, the film questions whether it is possible to uphold justice in a world that is so fundamentally broken. This struggle against a corrupt system also resonates with themes of powerlessness and the cyclical nature of injustice. Juan's relentless pursuit of justice, even if it means resorting to violence, highlights how the system itself can leave people with few options for change. The more Juan fights against the system, the more entrenched it becomes. The movie does not present an easy resolution to this conflict but instead leaves the audience with the haunting question: can real justice ever be achieved in a corrupt society, or is the fight itself the price of living with integrity? Morality, vengeance, and the price of justice. One of the most compelling aspects of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is its exploration of moral ambiguity. The film grapples with the age-old question of whether the ends justify the means. Juan's quest for justice is marked by violence and vengeance, and as the movie progresses, the line between right and wrong becomes increasingly blurred. He begins as a character motivated by the desire to punish those who have wronged him and his community, but as his actions become more brutal and merciless, he starts to question his own methods. The film emphasizes the personal toll of his actions, both emotionally and morally. As Juan becomes more consumed by his desire for revenge, the audience sees how his mission negatively impacts his relationships and his sense of self. His internal conflict is most notably seen in scenes where he reflects on his past and his motivations, especially when he's confronted with the consequences of his actions. This internal struggle is essential to the film's commentary on justice, as it suggests that even when an individual is motivated by a righteous cause, the process of seeking justice can have devastating personal costs. This theme of vengeance is central to the story, and the film makes it clear that justice, when sought through violent means, often carries a heavy price. Juan's violence, while justified in his eyes, becomes a cycle in itself, raising questions about whether any kind of real justice can be achieved when violence is the chosen path. The cost of justice, as portrayed in the film, is not just physical but also emotional and psychological. Juan, in his pursuit of vengeance, loses a sense of his own humanity, making the film a poignant reflection on how the thirst for retribution can consume a person. The film also invites the audience to consider whether justice can ever be truly impartial. By focusing on an individual's personal journey for justice, Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 explores the broader societal issue of how the system treats the marginalized and powerless. It asks whether a person can ever truly achieve justice when they are battling against a system that is stacked against them. The implications of this question extend far beyond the film's narrative, suggesting that the justice system itself may be inherently flawed and that true equity might be out of reach for many. Symbolism of the bullet and the power of one. The title of the film, Isang Bala Ka Lang, One Bullet is All You Need, is itself a potent symbol that reflects both the simplicity and the destructive power of Juan's mission. The one bullet can be seen as a metaphor for the decisive, singular action needed to bring down a corrupt system. It represents the idea that, in the right hands, one person, armed with the right knowledge, the right moral compass, and the right tools, can make a difference. But it also speaks to the consequences of that power, as a single bullet can also take a life, destroy families, and leave a trail of devastation. This duality of the one bullet is a powerful symbol for the film's central themes. On one hand, it reflects the hope that justice can be achieved through determined, individual action. On the other hand, it also speaks to the violence and destruction that inevitably accompany such efforts. The bullet is a tool for both vengeance and justice, but it also serves as a reminder of the costs that come with wielding such power. This symbolism is particularly evident in the film's action sequences, where Juan's decisions often have immediate and irreversible consequences, affecting not only the villains but also his own life and soul. In this sense, the bullet is a symbol of agency and consequence. It can represent the potential for change, but it also underscores the inescapable truth that change, especially in a world so entrenched in corruption, comes with sacrifice. Juan's single-minded determination to use that bullet to set things right is a reflection of the broader societal sentiment of wanting to fix what's broken. But the film suggests that sometimes that desire for change can lead to more harm than good. Class struggles and the fight for the voiceless. Another crucial element of the film is its exploration of class struggles. While Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is primarily an action movie, It also subtly engages with the issue of class inequality, particularly the stark divide between the powerful elite and the powerless masses. The villains in the film, politicians, criminals, and business tycoons, are often depicted as being part of an elite class that has grown accustomed to controlling the system for their own gain. Meanwhile, Juan and his allies represent the oppressed, those who are victimized by the system but are determined to fight back. The film subtly critiques the social order, highlighting how wealth and power are often used to maintain the status quo and keep the disadvantaged in their place. The corruption that Juan is fighting against is not just moral. It is also economic and systemic. Throughout the film, the contrast between the wealthy criminals and the struggling citizens is clear, with Juan's personal vendetta serving as a reflection of the broader social unrest that many Filipinos felt in the 1990s. In this way, the film becomes more than just a simple revenge tale. It acts as a commentary on the power imbalances that exist in society and the ways in which those in power manipulate the system to stay ahead. The story calls attention to the fact that the voices of the poor and marginalized are often silenced by those who hold the power, and that real change can only come when those who are oppressed find the strength to rise up and fight back. Conclusion: more than just an action movie. Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is a film that transcends the typical action genre. Beneath the surface of high-octane thrills and explosive shootouts lies a powerful exploration of moral ambiguity, social inequality, and the cost of seeking justice in an unjust world. The film's themes are deeply rooted in the realities of the time, speaking to the political and social issues that Filipinos faced in the 1990s. Through its complex characters, thought-provoking symbolism, and subtle social commentary, the movie challenges its audience to think beyond the spectacle and consider the deeper implications of its story. It serves as both a thrilling action film and a poignant reflection on the struggles of ordinary people fighting for justice in a corrupt society. In the world of Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2, 1996, the raw energy and tension of the action sequences are amplified by the deft use of cinematic techniques, creating a visual and auditory experience that keeps the audience on the edge of their seats. From its meticulous cinematography to the sharp sound design and overall visual storytelling, the film exemplifies how the language of cinema can elevate a narrative. Director Tony Y. Reyes crafted a world that not only immersed viewers in the intense drama and action, but also communicated the emotional depth of the characters through visual and auditory cues. The film's mastery of cinematic techniques serves to enhance its thematic elements, deepen the emotional resonance, and immerse the audience in the high-stakes world of justice and corruption. Let's explore the movie's cinematography, sound design, and overall visual storytelling, examining how these elements work in tandem to craft a cohesive, compelling cinematic experience. Cinematography, framing the story. The cinematography in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is both striking and functional, enhancing the story's tone while maintaining a focus on the characters' emotional and physical journeys. From the opening frames to the final shot, the visual style is a constant thread, binding together the action, suspense, and emotional weight of the film. Camera movement and framing. One of the defining features of the film's cinematography is its dynamic use of camera movement to heighten the emotional intensity of key scenes. In action sequences, particularly the car chases and shootouts, the camera work is kinetic, mirroring the frenetic pace of the events unfolding on screen. The handheld camera, often employed during fight scenes, creates a sense of immediacy and chaos, allowing the audience to feel as if they are in the middle of the action. These moments of heightened intensity benefit from the camera's fluid motion, which keeps the tension palpable and emphasizes the dangers that Juan, Bong Ravilla, faces. For example, during a particularly intense confrontation between Juan and the corrupt officials, the camera moves in tight, close-up shots that convey the urgency of the moment. These shots emphasize Juan's emotional state, his growing desperation, and his moral conflict. The claustrophobic framing amplifies the feeling of being trapped within a system that Juan cannot escape, visually mirroring his internal struggle. Moreover, there are moments where the film shifts to wider shots to establish the environment, particularly during key moments of introspection. This wide framing invites the audience to take in the world surrounding the characters, urban landscapes, alleyways, or dimly lit corridors, and serves as a visual representation of the larger societal issues that the film addresses. These shots are often juxtaposed with intimate close-ups of the characters, effectively drawing a contrast between the personal and the political, between individual struggles and the systemic corruption that surrounds them. The use of low angles in the film is another critical cinematographic choice that serves to elevate the power dynamics between the characters. In scenes where Juan confronts the powerful figures in his quest for justice, low-angle shots are frequently used to frame these antagonists. This camera positioning emphasizes their dominance and control, both within the story and in the broader context of the film's social commentary. The downward gaze from Juan's perspective also highlights the sense of being overpowered by a corrupt system, which he must dismantle piece by piece. Lighting, setting the mood. Lighting in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 is used with precision to enhance both the narrative and the emotional landscape of the film. A significant part of the film's visual storytelling revolves around the use of contrast between light and shadow, a technique that both reflects the moral grayness of the characters and serves as a visual metaphor for their inner turmoil. The film often uses low-key lighting to create a sense of danger, tension, and uncertainty. In the dark alleys, underground meetings, and hidden lairs of corrupt officials, the shadowy environments visually reflect the corruption, secrets, and duplicity that are at the core of the narrative. These dimly lit scenes allow for sharp contrasts between light and shadow, casting long, ominous shadows on the walls that heighten the sense of danger. One of the most notable uses of lighting occurs during the film's fight sequences. In these moments, light is used to intensify the sense of immediacy and threat. As the characters fight for their lives, harsh lighting creates deep shadows, emphasizing the brutality of the combat. The play of light and shadow becomes an extension of the characters' emotional states, adding an additional layer of meaning to the action. In contrast to the darkness of the underworld and the gritty settings, scenes that focus on Juan's moments of introspection are often lit more softly, with natural or diffused light. These moments, where Juan contemplates his moral choices, are bathed in warmer, more neutral lighting, signaling his inner conflict and vulnerability. This contrast in lighting not only underscores the tension between action and reflection but also adds to the narrative's theme of duality, how light and dark coexist within the same character, the same world, and the same system. Color palette, symbolism through color. Color also plays an important role in the film's visual language, often carrying symbolic weight that enhances the film's themes of morality, vengeance, and justice. Throughout the film, the dominant use of earthy tones, shades of brown, gray, and muted blues, creates a gritty, grounded atmosphere that ties the film to its urban setting. This palette of desaturated colors conveys a sense of realism, while also highlighting the harshness of the world that Juan inhabits. When it comes to emotional or thematic shifts, the color palette subtly adjusts to reflect these changes. For instance, scenes that deal with Juan's sense of moral uncertainty or moments of personal reflection are often bathed in warmer tones, signifying introspection and the human aspect of his character. In contrast, the action-heavy sequences tend to have more cold, industrial colors, such as steel blues and greens, evoking a sense of detachment and the mechanical nature of violence and corruption. Sound design and music, enhancing atmosphere and emotion. Sound plays an equally important role in Isang Bala Ka Lang, Part 2 in creating a visceral and immersive experience. The film's sound design, combined with a carefully crafted score, enhances the emotional weight of the action sequences and heightens the tension in quieter, more reflective moments. Sound effects, the power of silence and impactful action. One of the most striking elements of the film's sound design is the careful manipulation of silence and sound effects to build suspense. In many of the film's quieter scenes, such as Juan's moments of contemplation or his interactions with allies, there is a deliberate use of silence that amplifies the emotional weight of the moment. The absence of sound draws attention to the character's internal conflict and sense of isolation. These moments of quiet allow the audience to hear the character's thoughts, both through dialogue and through the subtle, almost imperceptible background noise. Conversely, in the action sequences, the sound effects are exaggerated and heightened to increase the sense of intensity. The film's use of gunshots, explosions, and the screech of tires during car chases creates an almost tangible sense of chaos and violence. The auditory experience of the film mirrors the visual dynamism of the action, contributing to the sense of an ever-present danger lurking in the background. A notable example of this is the sound of Juan's footsteps as he walks toward an impending confrontation. The sound of his footsteps reverberates through the soundtrack, echoing through the empty, darkened streets or the stark confines of a corrupt government office. This auditory motif builds anticipation, signaling to the audience that Juan's decisions will have serious consequences. The sound becomes a physical manifestation of the tension mounting within the character and the story.